Hi guys, good morning. This is Dan. Welcome to Engelgeist. For those of you that are new, welcome. For those of you that are returning, welcome back. For those of you that support me over on Patreon, thank you so very much for your subscriptions. I greatly appreciate it. This is the daily forecast for all signs. It is a broad spectrum reading for the collective, so it's a shared reading amongst all of you. For whenever you see it ultimately, but it was originally created for Saturday, April 9th. So, for those of you that watch regularly, we will be attributing it to the readings previous to it. But for those of you that are watching this the first time randomly on a date that's not April 9th, this reading still may have information or validation in it for you. So please continue watching. If it makes sense, please use it with the most highest of intuition and intelligence that you possess. When making your decisions. If it doesn't make sense or it doesn't seem to fit, that's okay. It doesn't mean that anything's wrong or bad. It just might not be your reading, right? So just kind of take what you need and leave the rest. It's sort of how it works. Please, for those of you that are new, check out my drop-down menu underneath the video so that you keep in mind some of the things that I want you to think about when utilizing the channel. Also, in there is ways to support the channel. And those ways are by hitting that thumbs up button, subscribing to the channel, sharing the channel out, telling your friends about me, booking a private reading, leaving a question or comment. I appreciate and read all of them. And so all of that stuff greatly helps me to kind of do this work, which I love to do. I've been doing it since I was 16, and that's quite many years ago. So let's get into this reading and see where we're heading finish out this week, or for those of you that are just watching this randomly, what do we need to know is kind of what I always ask. What's available to us, or what do we need to be made aware of? I will be referencing cards that you won't see. They're from the Underpinning Energy, which is the Sunday reading, which is the weekly that goes out every Sunday. So I will be referencing a certain card from that reading. If you want to check out that reading, it is going to populate in the lower left-hand corner of the screen at the end of this reading. So you can always go back and watch that to see what I'm referencing for the week that just happened, that just took place. All right, so what is our card today? Oh, hey, High Priestess. I'll take her. Card number 2 of the Major Arcana. So what I like about her is, first off, she's full on Pisces energy, right? Pisces is a very intuitive, emotional, psychic sign, right? And the High Priestess is definitely connected to spirit in that way, right? She's aware of the bigger picture. She's aware of where she's at sort of mentally, physically, spiritually, all of that sort of stuff. And she's able to kind of shut out all of the riffraff. I love how her eyes are closed. She has this light at the center of her 6th chakra. She also has this tube of light going up through her 7th, which is her knowingness, and this moon, which is her intuition, kind of sitting on top of her 7th. To me, that signifies her being like in touch with her deeper, darker side, her shadow side, spirit, her own higher self, all of that, right? The thing with the High Priestess is she comes kind of with secrets, right? She comes with wisdom, but we have to sort of solve the riddle sometimes with her. And the feeling that I get from her as she's like got her eyes shut is we need to go inward today to access that knowledge. Yesterday's card, this is where I start to, for those of you that are new, this is where I start to reference cards that aren't necessarily here. Yesterday's card, which was the 9 of Wands, was this idea of having come through a hard experience and maybe having learned the lesson and applying the lesson in a way that's productive. And Wands being that, the element of spirit, seeing the High Priestess the very next day says we're actually putting that to task, or we're putting that knowledge, that wisdom at a spiritual level, even if it was like harmful or painful for us, we're putting it to our advantage, or to we're using it for our own benefit in a way, right? We may still be figuring it out a little bit. That's the riddle aspect of the High Priestess to me. Sometimes it can be messages from our higher self coming at us that don't quite always make the clearest of sense, we have to pay a little bit more attention with the High Priestess. We have to kind of figure her out in a way, right? She wants us to be centered and in our center, and she wants us to be paying sort of attention. She wants to teach us and inform us and bring us that enlightenment that she's associated with, right? But it always kind of, to me with the High Priestess, it feels like it comes, I don't want to say at a cost, but it's not like an easy, oh, here you go, babe, right? We have to put in the focus, the attention, the work. And today we're able to do that, is my feeling. We're able to apply ourselves. Also, the High Priestess being about secrets is we may be aware of something, or there might be something that we're holding back, sharing or saying. We could be in that position today where with our own wisdom, within our own wisdom, there could be something that, I don't know, I kind of get a funny feeling that some of you might be holding on to a secret or an awareness that you're not necessarily sharing for some reason. That reason may be very valid. So trust your intuition on this one is kind of what I feel like the High Priestess has to say, right? I feel like if we share the secret, right, or we put it out there, it could create a little bit of issues or havoc. So I kind of get a feeling like maybe the High Priestess might be telling some of you who are watching this video to hold on to whatever it is that you are aware of and hold back. She's not necessarily the most vocal card, let's just say that. She's a wise card, but she's not necessarily up in the fray trying to prove her point or sway people to her side. Her wisdom is all internal. Does that make sense? And so her wisdom is deep, internal, and not necessarily to be just like shared or put out for the world to sort of step upon. Does that make sense? And so we may need to kind of keep our centeredness within ourselves today, our wisdom within ourselves, figuring out where we are centered and where we have that wisdom, that internal wisdom. Because also yesterday's card was that owl spirit, which was wisdom. So it feels to me like with the 9 of Wands from yesterday, and now seeing, and the wisdom card from yesterday, we're putting that wisdom and that 9 of Wands sort of perspective to work for us at a higher level with this High Priestess. Underneath this card from the Sunday reading, right, the underpinning energy is that 2 of Swords. And that 2 of Swords would definitely mean a pause, right? And when I'm seeing this High Priestess and I'm getting this feeling that there might be something we know or something we need to say, but we're not sure if now is the right time or now it's going to come out in the correct way, or do you see what I'm saying? Then that 2 of Swords may be the no or the pause, like, don't do it, girl. Like, Molly, you in danger, girl. Like, there might be a voice inside of you that's saying, like, how do I want to put this? Like, it feels like we might be opening up a can of worms. So be careful, because there was in that 2 of Swords, if you go back and reference the Sunday reading, I did say something about that 2 of Swords had a feeling to me of either being led by spirit or being dragged by spirit. And I kind of get the feeling, because she's blindfolded in the 2 of Swords also, which again is about going inward, maybe against her will, but you know, she still can't necessarily look to the outside world for cues or ideas or direction. This High Priestess doesn't look to the outside world. She looks to the internal world. She looks to her own internal wisdom, and she does it from a place of empowerment. So the fact that she shows up today says to me that most of us, the majority of us, ideally, are going to make the correct decision around whatever it is that we need to do, whatever action we may need to take or not take is kind of key with her. Whatever things we need to say or not say at this time, we need to look at those things and really kind of not think about it, but I mean, maybe there is a little bit of thinking about it, because it is a 2 of Swords card, and Swords is the mental realm. But the High Priestess is about being connected to our higher selves and that higher understanding and knowing what's going to serve us really best in the long term. So key into that today. She's definitely centered. She's definitely, what's the word I want to say? Like, she's not one to be rocked by her environment. where that Two of Swords looked like it had the potential to be some of us being rocked by our environment. And we need to remember that today, is my feeling, and trust that within ourselves. If we're getting an answer that feels maybe slightly different than we would expect, check that answer and make sure that it's coming from your higher self and not, say, like maybe your ego or wherever else, right? And then follow that wisdom, or follow that sort of higher spiritual energy that is within us. So let's look at, okay, we have Wood Nymph, card number 52, which is a 7. Again, we're back to that number 7, which was the number for the kind of the week, I felt like. Sevens to me are about making that conscious choice, right? And again, I feel like we need to choose the High Priestess today. We need to choose to rise up into our own sort of centeredness and spiritual wisdom. We need to be independent of a situation. We need to be maybe more adult within the situation, or withhold. I don't want to tell anybody to withhold anything, but it feels to me like she is going inward rather than trying to like fight for her point, or prove her side, or any of that sort of stuff. She is about remaining calm, centered, and knowing her own truth rather than the truth of others. Does that make sense? And so we need to sort of keep that perspective, and we need to consciously choose that today. And that choice, that number 7, that kind of was the theme for the week, is us choosing to maybe not to to go the more knowledgeable, sort of spiritually guided path, rather than maybe getting into the fray, if that makes sense. Now, what I love about this is she's giving me long red hair, and so is the Wood Nymph. I mean, she's giving me High Priestess vibes, if I do say so myself, right? She's there, and she's centered in the water. She has the lotuses, which would represent spiritual wisdom and beauty. And then she's in the water, which is her emotions, but she's also very connected to nature. And I love that her emphasis today is beauty, right? She's connected to nature. She understands her sort of connection within it all. The High Priestess would also understand all of that, right? We have this moon up here, so she's definitely like paying attention to her intuition also. So let's see what Wood Nymph has to say. She's embracing her own beauty, her own wisdom, her own appreciation of herself, right? Let's see, where is Wood Nymph? All right, Wood Nymph. Looking fragile, delicate, and luminescent, 3 wood nymphs, sometimes called forest queens, are stretched out in the moss at the base of a tree. Bathing in the moonlight, their flowing gossamer gowns sparkle and shimmer, seemingly made out of light. Their dreams and visions, translucent and diaphanous, waver in the air above them. Radiant, glorious beauty is growing within you. Let beauty be your North Star to guide you. What feels as well as what looks lovely will sustain and nourish you. Your ability to see inner depths around you is in direct correlation with a remarkable, sumptuous life. Create harmony and peace within your home, even doing so in small ways, such as a vase of flowers, a scented candlelit bath, can make a difference. Relax and surround yourself with comfort and elegance. And that's totally Pisces stuff, which is High Priestess energy, for real. The more you acknowledge beauty in your environment, in yourself, in others, the more it will fill your life. You are truly and utterly gorgeous and lovable. As you cherish yourself, the luminescence around you will grow. The nymphs of ancient Greek folklore are beautiful supernatural beings of the forest. Their appearance here symbolizes that your own beauty, both inner and outer, is growing. There are many accounts of travelers walking through a forest and seeing wood nymphs bathing in the sunlight in a grotto next to a stream or pool, singing or dancing. Follow the example of the nymphs. Relax, spend time in nature, and sing and dance with joy. It's interesting that they're in a body of water too, because that would be water energy of Pisces. The spirit of the wood nymph says, remarkable spiritual beauty is growing within you. Be aware of the beauty that is around you, and splendor will expand in your life. Create beauty in your home, even in the smallest ways, and an inner grace will radiate out from you. I love that. And remember, underneath this week, the grounding stone for this week was about that health, right? And I was saying in the Sunday reading, it's about our spiritual, mental, physical health and maintaining all of that, like shifting all of that to a place that is stronger and more empowered. And I feel like ending this week out with this high priestess and this focus, this conscious choice to choose to see and honor and grow the beautiful aspects within ourselves really says to me that we've gone after it this week for those of you that watch regularly, and we've really sort of maybe pursued and listened to our own internal wisdom and our own internal like spiritual thoughts and ideas and allowed them to grow, and we should continue to do so is kind of my feeling. So let's look at the grounding stone. And the grounding stone, perfect, is the word nature. So, Wood Nymph is all about being connected to nature, right? We just read that. I also interpret this a little bit differently, right? In the sense that not only do we want to connect to nature, like the natural world of plants, animals, and all of that, and our connection to that, and be fulfilled and sort of fed by that, but also the idea of our own true nature and finding the beauty within as to who we are, both good sides and bad, right? And yesterday's wisdom card was about, there was a little brief snippet in there about embracing sort of our dark side too, right? Embracing like our flaws and everything. And the high priestess owns all of that. She has a knowledge and a wisdom about all of that, and she doesn't necessarily hide or withdraw from it. Her awareness is vast, and she sees the beauty in all of it. And I feel like Wood Nymph is telling us to consciously choose to look at those things as beautiful, to see our own true nature as beautiful. Thus, we can then create and connect to the nature that is around us, the world around us, other people's natures, so to speak, and find appreciation for them too. Does that make sense? And so as we do that, we grow that beauty, and we also grow that wisdom within ourselves. All right, so that is your forecast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share the channel out, leave a question or comment. I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow for a new weekly, and thank you so much for tuning in. Have a wonderful day and take care. Bye-bye.